Hello and welcome back to the Ultra Films YouTube channel or Facebook. Now that we're uploading over there, you might be seeing this on Facebook for one of the first few videos that's out. Welcome to the Ultra Films channel on Facebook, if that's the case. Anyways, we're here to talk about Young Justice. This is episode 17. We're going to break it down, go over some of the stuff that happened and what we expect from the future. Honestly, a lot of this episode developed, and this arc has developed way faster than I thought it would. But then I looked at the structure of how they do all their arcs, and each one is about 4 episodes long, which this is the 4th episode in the Poseidonus little arc that we've done underwater. So I guess it makes sense that we've gotten a conclusion. Obviously, spoilers for the episode. If you haven't seen it, don't watch this. Episode 18 comes out in a few days from now, so I'll be doing a review for that and for all the episodes in the rest of the series. So don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this and you want to see more. But let's get into it. So, what has really gone on in this arc? Essentially, we've had Ocean Master show up when he was dead. We've had this Aryan character show up, who is the former son of the deceased son of Vandal Savage. We assume that he's dead. We don't know, but he just shows up out of nowhere. Apparently he's been hiding this whole time. Orin and Mera have this weird feeling about the guy, and so they do this investigation. And in the last episode they had just sent out Aqualad, Wind, and 2 others, Lagon, and I guess they didn't technically send Delphine out, but she followed him. So anyways, they are on a search to find Aryan's actual crown, to try and see if there's any way they can trace the DNA from that crown and compare it to the real Aryan. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So we start off the episode with them on this quest to go find the crown. They've been gone for weeks at this point. Aryan has disappeared. All of Poseidonus and Atlantis is in uproar over this, and they need to know an answer of who the true king is based on the prophecy that we've learned about. That's the one true king, the guy who rises above all after the Red Seas part or something like that. However, we learn very, very quickly into this episode that Aryan is actually not who he says he is. At the very end of the last episode, King Orin had said that he went to go visit Orim. This is so confusing. Aquaman went to visit Ocean Master, and Ocean Master made a comment that he had seen his brother the 16 times that they had visited, that he had gone to the facility where they keep prisoners, but he had never faced his brother face to face during those visits. So this imposter clone that was made, which we find out is a clone, ultimately leaks that, hey, I saw you 16 times when he actually never had. And so that was their first big key and clue that this wasn't the real Ocean Master. And it turns out the Aryan, the guy who is Aryan, is actually Ocean Master, who was murdered earlier in the show. They stripped his DNA out and put him inside of a fake clone body of Aryan, made up of the genetic code of Vandal Savage, his daughter, and maybe, I don't know how they make clones in this, they don't specify, but they made a clone of Aryan, or the closest they could get to him, and made him pass. And then they uploaded all of Ocean Master's memories and some of what would be Aryan's memories into this body that is the new Ocean Master. And his whole plot is to Vandal Savage's whole plot, because it's all going through this guy. His whole plot is to take over Poseidonus and take over Atlantis through the means of Ocean Master being this placeholder son of his who fulfills this prophecy that they've always known about, and they're just now taking advantage of it. And I think the reason why they killed him off earlier is so that they could do this plan, but they did it unsuspectingly, even to him. They had this plan. It was like a, hey, what if sort of plan, and then he proved his worth by showing he could track down where all the families of the Justice Leaguers were meeting up. That was his way, has proved his worth, and he had made it in. And then they killed him in his suspense and ours, unknowingly. And now this whole plan has gone through. But it wasn't ever very clear. I like how Young Justice does this, where they build up these things where you're like, wait a minute, none of this adds up. There's some sort of twist about to happen, but you don't have any idea what it's going to be, and then it hits, and you're like, oh, okay. I thought Aryan was an actual just clone or some sort of like shapeshifter, or they were using some way to cloak him as Aryan when he really wasn't, like Simon or something like that. But in all actuality, it was the Ocean Master. And so obviously there's this whole first scene is like them debating over who should be the one true king sort of thing. They ultimately decide it should be Aryan. Aryan announces the people, and then as Calder and his crew come back from their quest, they have the crown, and Ocean Master uses his powers to take the crown away from him, place it on his head, and because it's filled with the powers of the Lord of Order, he incinerates in underwater and evaporates into nothingness. And ultimately, all the power that's imbued in the crown from the Lords of Order is like, all right, fuck this shit. This is not cool. This is not acceptable. And it shoots it back up to the rest of the Lords of Order, and is now that power resides back with them rather than in an artifact that's been basically lost for centuries. So it's probably good that the Lords of Order are a bit more balanced out now, since they weren't beforehand. But we've got obviously Dr. Fate in Zatanna's body approaching Vandal Savage about this incident that's all taken place, and he's basically like, ha, that's what you get, dude. Sucks to suck. And yeah, it's pretty funny. Vandal Savage's whole plan is wrecked. They have obviously other plans to try and steal bits of power away from the Justice League. This is just one of many. I think he even says something about, all right, we're going to move on to this next plan. But he always has something going on. He's always got something planned. And so we'll probably see him again here soon. Maybe even in the next arc, which should be the next 4 episodes. So I would assume 18, 19, 20, and 21 will all be a series or an arc. And then we've got 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and then 26 is the finale. It usually wraps up this one and takes a little bit longer, I would guess. It's kind of how it was for the first half of the season. I guess I've never really noticed that trend until I started doing this channel and like actually looking into the specifics about this show, but it's kind of smart how they do it. And I also really want to point out, I talked about how it happened, but essentially Megan opens up the clone of Ocean Master, this fake decoy, and opens up his mind to like show the cloning process in the mind, like the memories that were wiped away by Simon, and that reveal and that like that version of Ocean Master is really interesting to me. So I hope we see him again too, because he's just like in the same way that like Superboy is a clone and Arsenal is a clone. It's like or I guess Arsenal's not the clone. I guess Roy is the clone. But the same way that like this cloning has affected certain heroes, it'll be cool to see that happen on the villain side of things for once. And like this clone of Aquaman's half brother that has all these memories and all these feelings and these emotions that aren't even really his, they're just implanted into him. And then also having the Vandal Savage, the one person that like, you know, he was trying to gain the trust and respect of, is like doesn't give a shit about him, doesn't give 2 licks. And so it'll be interesting to see how that all happens and how that goes down. But yeah, I think it's a really cool, neat spin on this. For the, you know, the cloning thing has been a thing for Young Justice for a while, but I like the spin that they've taken it towards the villains now. No one's safe from being cloned. And then obviously the conclusion of all this is obvious. Arian incinerates, and Mera ultimately is crowned as the High King. I don't know why they didn't call her the High Queen, but she's the High King of Olympus or Atlantis. So she's in charge of Poseidonus, all the decisions, and everybody at the council that was fighting all week has now agreed, including her father. This is her father, if I didn't mention that. Because they weren't getting along. They weren't cool with King Orin, who was like a surface dweller initially, and then, that's the story of Aquaman. But now that Mera is in charge, things seem like they'll go a lot better. And she fulfills the prophecy because she was the last one to, survive and was the best of the three. Like, Ocean Master, even though it's a clone, isn't really necessarily a good guy at this point. Very confusing and uncertain. Arian was actual Ocean Master and super, super evil. And then Mera is the only one who's, like, actually decently good. So, she fulfilled the prophecy. She becomes the High King of Atlantis. Again, a weird wordage, but it's okay. Then, obviously, Calder and Lagan have been on this journey. Calder comes back to be with Wind. And then Lagan joins up with his family. And I think they had twins, right? No, just kidding. They had one child. I'm sorry, I read my notes wrong. Lagan rejoins the Justice League, actually, with Aquaman, though. That's an important thing to note, because they're going to actually be part of the bigger storylines now, or at least involved with the Justice League more often than Calder is. And I really like the arc that they just did with Calder. They've also recently announced that they're going to be doing an Aqualad show on HBO Max. It's not going to follow Calderon. It's going to follow the other one. I literally just saw his name an hour ago, but I can't remember. But the other incarnation of Aqualad is the same. So they're not exactly the same character, but they follow this. They're pretty similar, honestly. So regardless, I was really excited because when they announced it, because I was like, yes, Calder's going to get a show. Let's go. But then they announced it's the other guy, and I was like, oh well. It is what it is. Ultimately, the last thing I want to leave you with is the, like, post-credit scene, or, like, the little flash scene at the end is Superboy still stuck in this realm that he's been stuck in for the last few episodes, and all of a good chunk of season 4, and he ultimately sees that school bus pass by that we see from the end of season 3, where we realize, or the end of the, I guess, episode 13, that arc after he died, and after we see people, like, mourning it, we get the same sort of, like, slip shot where, I don't know what to call it, because it's not a post-credit scene, but we're a little split shot of him in the bus that he had saved full of people that was, like, part of the Roanoke arc. Anyways, he sees the bus again in this clip, and then he sees Lex Luthor put his hand on him and say, "Come with me, my son." And so, I don't know if that's the real Lex Luthor, or if he's just imagining him. I would only guess that he's imagining him. I don't know how Lex would get there, even with, like, Clarion's help. I guess he could, but I don't know what the play is there. So, yeah, that's that. I think that's about all I have for this episode. I'm kind of, actually, the last little bit there, if it is Lex Luthor and he's there with Clarion, and they end up pulling him out and, like, he owes them a favor, it'll be very interesting to see what kind of manipulation they do there. I don't think that they intentionally sent him there, but maybe, who knows? Or it's just a vision and I'm overthinking it. Anyways, I will see you guys on the review for episode 18, and so on and so forth. If you enjoyed this, leave me a like. Let me know your thoughts about this episode. Let me know how you feel about Mera being queen. Let me know what you think about Vandal Savage getting punked. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, peace.